And yes, doesn't Degerfer look just very compact, really relaxed. So just that's almost the perfect marathon running style and action there.
Well, the Ethiopians have got some obviously fantastic women on the track, haven't they? Dafar, Dababa. I mean, you know, and that's the sort of technique and the physicality that these women have over in Ethiopia. Beautiful runners.
Yeah, magnificent looking, and they may have been pushed out to the marathon because they've got such credentials on the track. They might not get a look in at their track team, so here they are. And these are good athletes. They could make it on the track as well, but they've decided to switch to the marathon.
Well, Sydney has turned on her best weather for this race, and we've just seen our women's leaders, and we're well and truly underway. 40 minutes travelled in the Sydney Running Festival, and the marathon in progress. And as we can see, those runners have just turned to the corner and headed back along there. So once you do turn, you also get to gauge who it is that's coming along behind you presently.
Yeah, they'll have that chase group in their sight, so they'll know. Again, through a little drink station there. And the drink stations, the special drinks are normally at every 5 kilometres, but it's become tradition now that they will have another sponge or water station in between at about 2.5. So that's how important hydration is. The organisers of every international event around the world now is very conscious of making sure they have plenty of water out on the course for the athletes.
Scott Westcott, the man closest to camera, is in the cap. He is doing some pace setting for a few of our international elite runners, and is the head starting to move a bit, boys? Scott's feeling it?
Perhaps not at this stage. He's doing a good job, but I mean, it's going to be tough for him, I think, when he gets to around about the half-May mark. He is really, I suppose, doing as best he can to keep these guys running at a really, really good rhythm.
So that's the winner of the family run. Now, we saw them get underway, and the winners have made their way across for the family run. So congratulations to those runners. And I wonder if they beat home dad or mum or maybe the uncle or the little brother. All important bragging rights as the hydration. So well done to everyone who's competed as a part of the family run.
Well, they looked like young lads there, didn't they? Teenagers. And I would think they would be the group that would come through first in the family fun run. Teenage boys are probably very strong and quite fast. So you see them come through here, and it looks like the first three are in their teens. And as Steve said, this is the future of Australian athletics here.
And it's great to see them involved in this event in some capacity. And the 3.5K event will appeal to that type of athlete. They could be going into our track season. So those younger aspiring athletes who one day will head out to the marathon, but this early stage in their career, the 3.5K is a perfect distance for them.
So there's the Conservatorium of Music, and just another of the iconic buildings that we go past, and that is where they finish, the Conservatorium of Music. And you can see more of them just making their way through to the finish line, the infrastructure in place there, and you can see the banner just in the top right. He's a young man.
Wow.
Well done. What a terrific effort.
Just beat his dad before, you know.
Dad didn't look very happy, did he, if it was Dad? Yeah.
That's right. Come back here.
He's got to live with that for another year, isn't he?
The bragging rights, and a beautiful scene. That's one of our first young ladies home as well in the family run too, so she might have bragging rights in her family, and they will come through in massive numbers now, and it will be mum and dad and maybe even grandma and granddad, who knows. And it's great to see, as you said, the future face of Australian athletics and maybe even Australian distance running coming across here.
Well, this is, I think, is the biggest event, isn't it, in the festival? 16,000 in this one?
Yes, the numbers in this one, the family run, well, the family run's got 5,000, the bridge run has got 16,000.
Oh, it's a bridge, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, there's big fields now in these events, there really are.
That would be a fun run in itself, obviously, having that amount of people. So the infrastructure and just having the two finishes, we've got to admire the way that these events are organised nowadays. Incredible.
Sydney turning on some beautiful weather for a Sunday morning for the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. We have had the finish of the family run, which is the 3.5 kilometres starting at Milson's Point and then heading across to the Conservatorium of Music. You can see it there, right centre of screen. Steve Monaghetti and Steve Ovett. 7 times they've been to the Olympic Games between them, these boys, and they know all about it. And the family run continues to finish, and bragging rights, we're talking about the fact that getting across the line ahead of mum, dad, your uncle, your brother, really, really important for the roast dinner tonight.
And significantly, all events go over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Yeah. So this event, very specifically, most of the event would actually be over the bridge. It's a couple of K or about 1,500 metres across the bridge. So they will have enjoyed spectacular views on their way across to the Conservatorium.
And when does Dad make the decision to say to the young man, all right, you go on, you go ahead?
Probably as soon as he gets tired, I should think.
Well, these guys aren't tired. This is the men's leaders. Joseph Merrigu, the man on the right of your screen. If you've just joined us, Scott Westcott is doing the pacemaking. Then we've got an elite international field, a couple of Ethiopians in there as well, a French runner too, a couple of Kenyans. There is the French runner, Al-Sain Ben Kanouche from France, 32-year-old. And then wearing the number 9 is James Cheboy. In the 6, we have got Joseph Merrigu, who has been doing a lot of the pace setting himself off the front as well, boys.
Yeah, whether he may be another designated pacer, although he seems to be up the front. I'm suggesting that he's probably pacing as well. But, gee, the Frenchman looks very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I think whilst you say Scotty Westcott's always had a rougher-looking running action, but the key is it's actually the head bob. So we tend to take a line across their shoulders and measure that rather than their head movement. So it's actually the efficiency forward across the ground. And whilst Scotty might look like his head's moving around, his actual shoulders don't move that much from the vert. You can see it perfectly there on that rail. And that's an important thing to note, and that's what you want to have.
Well, being a bit of a historian of track and field, do you remember Zatopek?
Yes.
Zatopek used to actually force his head up and down sometimes to make the other athletes think that he was tired.
And Paula Radcliffe, the female world record holder, similarly looked shocking when she ran, but her actual movement of her shoulders wasn't that high. Whilst she looked terrible from the shoulders up, her actual efficiency was high.
So you've got to look at the whole athlete, not just the part that you concentrate on sometimes. But, yeah, I think it is efficiency that is the key factor in marathon. It's got to be, really.
And I always look at the legs and how their knee lift is forming, because later on in the event, it'll be the legs that will be the first sign that they've hit the wall and they're getting tired.
Okay, this is the women's leaders, and wearing the 14 is Biritat Degafa, and wearing the 19 is Beatrice Chepkemboy. They are part of the chase group. So Chepkemboy is in the yellow colours, and Degafa is in the black and the red strip as well. And they are running in sync at the moment and look to be not battling at all. A few of the men just trying to hold on to the back end of them at this stage.
Yeah, it looks like the women are doing some pacemaking for the men just behind there. I mean, come on, boys, man up. Go ahead and start taking a bit of the rhythm for the women. But they seem to be quite happy settling in just behind there.
A couple of the Japanese runners there, and just wanting to direct to get out to try and open up some territory. One of the Japanese runners there, and they're running. One of the Japanese runners has got a glove on, the other one's got a bit of elbow work. Is that just to cover maybe some muscle discomfort, or what's the advantage with the glove?
I think probably they had those on at early start because it was probably a little bit colder when they started up, and now they're just taking them off, disrobing as it were, as it gets hotter during the rest of the race.
That's right, they'll probably throw those and not be worried about the collecting them later.
Biritat Degafa, she is the lady right there wearing the black and the red strip in the number 14, and we caught up and had a word with her earlier this week.
My name is Biritat Degafa from Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. Yeah, very nice. Very nice, yeah. In the race, I am running 2:27 or 28. I like that time. Before 2 hours before, I am eating forage or bread, honey, yeah. Runners for fun.
So
So there she is, Biratat Degafa in the 14, and a marvellous history she's got. She spoke about it a little bit there, as well as the honey that she has for breakfast, but just having a look at her particular history. And when you run through it, marathon time of 2.2734, the half marathon 71 minutes 0.58, and her highlights include the Frankfurt Marathon and also the Barcelona Marathon of last year. Mojo in Ethiopia is her hometown, the age of 22. It's great having so many internationals here.
She was loving that Bondi Beach as well, and it's great that they can come over and have a look at some of the sites while they're leading. And whilst they'll be focused on the race result today, they still want to enjoy Sydney whilst they're here.
Coming up towards the 50-minute mark, this is the lead group of men's runners. The man in the hat furthest away from screen is Scott Westcott, who's been doing some work, and coming up behind him is Willie Koitzele. He's in the number 2. We then go back to the number 9 of James Cheboy, and the number 3 is Julius Correa. Now, Julius would be certainly one of the most prominent runners we've got here this morning.
Another sub-2:10 marathon runner, and again, he's slightly taller and looking pretty good, though. He seemed to drop off a little bit and then have to surge back up. You never want to be the last one in the pack. You're always the last one in the pack, first one to go is the rule. So he'd want to sort of probably make sure he's probably a bit more prominent in the group.
While we have our elite internationals, we have nearly 35,000 people competing, which is outstanding. This is the finish of the half marathon at the Sydney Opera House, and you can see the boys and girls just clicking off the watch. So in the half marathon, nearly 9,000 runners are continuing to come in. A slight little breeze that'll just be cooling them down, and you can see congratulations all around. Look at that. What sort of vista is that to arrive? Absolutely brilliant for the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. That is the finish of the half marathon, and of course we've also got the family run as well, and that's finishing too. So here's a couple of waves to camera. They look like they're all in the same top. That'll be a sporting club. All those girls getting across the line. A couple of dads coming in with young girls that are making their way across the line. A terrific effort. Congratulations to them. And Steve Monaghetti and Steve Ovett, must warm the cockles of your heart when you see youngsters like that.
They're coming whistling around the corner there, some of them. Yeah, they really, I think, are enjoying that event. It's a fantastic sort of, I suppose, feeder, as we said before, for the athletics in the future. And I remember, you don't become an Olympic champion literally overnight. It takes years and years and years of preparation and training just to make your teams.
Hey, he's happy.
Loving seeing that, the father and son, the mother and daughter. Look at that, hands up, enjoying it together. I think that was Can 2, that team that came through earlier, and raising money. Again, a very important component of the event here, the charities. I think of over 10 million, I think, in total in the 13 years history of this event. So great to run for a cause.
Absolutely. So a lot of charities are being featured. A lot of the people will be wearing pink as well. That's an important charity too. And you're right, Motters, over $10 million rather has been raised over. There's a couple of charity ones there with the
it's a great thing, isn't it? Marathon running and the festivals for raising money for charity. Everybody gets behind you. They know that you're putting the effort in to raise the money. And I think this time they're aiming for a figure maybe of 2 million this year in terms of charity. Fantastic performance.
Yeah, the half marathon runners continue to make their way through, and you can see the crowds really starting to fill up here at the Sydney Opera House because they're wanting to wait and watch the elite runners, and of course they'll be wanting to pick out Mum and Dad. That's just what you need in the morning, isn't it? Some mild American mustard.
You never know where on the course you want your mild American mustard.
I wonder if he does squirt out the top if he sort of angles. He's got to find the world's biggest hot dog. If that's the size of the bottle, I want to see the hot dog as well. The half marathon finish is making their way through. Running styles of all different varieties, and you can see, as I said, the crowd coming through. So
probably brings another perspective to a hot weather marathon, doesn't it? Mustard.
Yeah, putting some mustard on it. A terrific occasion and a real achievement for a lot of these runners, and this is the foray where some of them might get a taste for some more distance running to say, well, do you know what, I can do this half marathon, let's have a go at the 42Ks.
And they're just under 2 hours on the clock there, so that's a significant benchmark milestone for the half marathon runners.
And here's the guys who are doing the full 42Ks. Joseph Marugo is still out in front, and Scott Westcott is also with them. So this elite group hasn't changed a lot. The configurations have gone backwards and forwards, but it's really been this bulk of 7 or 8 runners that have been out in front since the early days.
And I think if we get the first, if we say the first two, we'll make the judgment there that pacing, we're down to sort of a pack of 5 behind them. So we lost a couple along that group. I think there were 7 initially, so they're starting to just dwindle a little bit.
Here's a split at the 15-kilometre mark. Koidalay with 47.31, then Al Hassan Ben Kanoush with 47.32, also Maragu with 47.32, and you can see Mahali as well, Cheboy on the same time, and then we go back to a few others.
Well, I just